Hey everyone, before we get started in today's video, I just want to let you know that this is a combination of 3 recent lessons that I had posted to my channel, and I do this occasionally so that you guys can get the full experience of a combination of different lessons so you can watch all of them back to back. Let me know if you like this method. I've done this before and I'll do this again. Maybe you guys have some suggestions on certain combos. Okay, so everything is time-stamped. There's 3 different videos, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you. Hello, and welcome back. Today's lesson is about turning insects and the different parts of the insect into creatures that are believable, but also fun at the same time. So you'll see here that I drew a basic insect leg, and I have some parts listed off. Okay, so we have the coxa, the trochanter, the femur, tibia, and then the tarsus at the end. So right down here, you can just call that the ungu, and I'll put that down here. Those are the tiny little claws that are typically at the end of an insect leg. And there are 5 main types of insect legs. You have jumping, seizing, digging, swimming, and running. And I'll list off some insects that fit into each of those categories. But why are we doing this? Well, if you want to just draw a creature, an insectoid creature, you first have to understand what those parts are actually doing. And we don't mess up any area more than the legs of an insectoid creature because we don't know what the segments are doing. We don't even know what we're drawing half the time. So, by looking at this little chart here, you can break up each individual section and you can manipulate the anatomy so that not only does it feel more otherworldly if you're drawing an alien or a creature, but it's also believable at the same time. Okay, so, oh, and by the way, when I was mentioning jumping, seizing, digging, swimming, and running, I mean, you have cockroaches, you have water bugs, you have mole crickets, you have mantids, or the praying mantis that is basically built for seizing prey. And then of course you have the grasshopper for jumping. So you have all these different types of insects that you can design from. But let's get into it. So we're going to keep this chart up here. And oh, by the way, I would recommend just pausing this video so that you can study this leg right here and just draw it out. There is power in physically drawing out charts and writing down notes so that you can commit them to memory easier than just studying something like an image online. And plus, if you have this chart ready, you can do what I'm doing right now and just go underneath it and just start drawing in your creature. All right, so if you're not familiar with bugs, you're not into entomology or anything like that, that doesn't matter, because the cool thing about drawing insect creatures is that there's so many cool shapes that you can do. You're going to find segments in there somewhere to turn it into some kind of bug. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just going to use this as a baseline. Okay, so the creature legs that I'm going to be putting on this doesn't have to mimic this exactly. No, we're just going to use these body parts and manipulate the anatomy so that it turns into something cool, but also feels believable. So the thumbnail that I have under here, those of you that are new to thumbnailing, I'm just keeping things very light, very loose. Here, I'll show you the materials that I'm using. Tombow 4B pencil, and then I'm sketching on moleskin paper. All right, so let's just jump into this. Okay, we're going to keep this chart up here, and then we're just going to slowly but surely start to lay in very light lines that are intersecting each other. Now, as I'm doing this, I do not have an insect in mind while I'm drawing this. It's just shapes going places. I was reading some comments from a previous video, let me get this string out of the way, about not even knowing how to scribble first because you're worried about what you're drawing. And that's exactly why I'm telling you to quit worrying about what you're drawing. Just scribble. You guys are worrying too much about the end result and what it should become versus what it could become. And I think that's what's hindering you. Okay, it looks like this is going to be a bit of a beetle. I just have a weird pill shape. Look at all these lines in here. I have no idea what these are going to do. That's the fun part about this. So let's look at this leg, and let's give this thing a cool looking shell. All right. Now, how did I know to put that wavy line in there? I didn't. I just decided to put the wavy line in there. I'm not thinking about a bug. Yeah, maybe a beetle, like a beetle shape. If you are not familiar with beetles, just Google it. Just go online, type in beetle, and then you can see the different kind of wing shapes and body shapes. That'll definitely help you. See how I'm just adding shapes on at the end of here? That's the fun part about this, everybody. It's going to look really crazy right here. A lot of different areas where I can make them into joints and do some really neat things. So see the coxa right here? It's basically the shoulder joint. Why don't we put something like that in these little places right here, right underneath that shell? Okay, once we have that, maybe we'll put like another one right here. Okay, so we have what looks to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different coxa, and then what's after it? The trochanter. Okay, so the trochanter connects the coxa to the femur. Okay, cool. Now, before we go any further, if you're drawing along with me, please make sure that the legs are going to be facing the correct way. It's very, very easy to fall into the trap of making bug legs very stiff. So think about the legs in the front that have to face frontward. And as you move to the back of the body, they're going to have to spread out towards the back. Okay, so these middle ones right here, you're probably going to get something like the tibia showing right up in the front. Okay, notice how I'm drawing the tibia first. Now, why do you think I'm drawing the tibia first and making this weird elongated pill shape? It's because the femur, the trochanter, and the coxa are going to sit behind that. We're thinking about foreshortening, everybody. This is the front of the leg if it's turning towards us. And then, of course, the tarsus and then the ungu are going to be right down here on the ground. I'm going to show you how to foreshorten that. But watch the tilt that I give these legs. You see how this tibia is slightly tilted? Okay, now if I turn the sketchbook like this just a little bit, you can see that it's not straight up and down. It's tilted to the side a little bit. That's good. We want to continue that. However, this one is going to be slightly more tilted. As we move towards the back, I'm going to go over that coxa joint because we're thinking about foreshortening. Okay. Now the tibia can probably be stretched out at this point. The leg is going to be bent downward, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. All right, we have this. Now the front, oh man, you could do some really fun things with that one. You know, you can have something like the mantis leg. Okay, so the mantis limb, if I were to do a little, actually no, I'll just do it as I'm drawing this creature. So let's turn this into a bit of a mantis leg, shall we? We're going to have the coxa up here, okay, and then we will have the femur. Then a huge, well, actually, yeah, that could be the tibia if you want to call it that. Draw this over here. There's the ground. And what better to do for mantis-like legs than put some sharp bits on the bottom of it to make it look like it's going to be grabbing its prey. All right, so what do we have here? Big beetle shape. Okay, and then we have this crazy looking head right there. We haven't even talked about the head yet. Okay, we're just going to be making some really cool creature-like shapes inside there. But what we want to do here is we want to give a slight outline of where the tarsals are going to be, or the tarsus if you want to call it that. Okay, these are going to be bending slightly because they have to grip the ground, and you know, you have the weight of the insect. Okay, there we go. Now, once we have this, we'll put the little ungu right there, like the little feet. There we go. Gripping the ground. Nothing has to be perfect, so don't even worry about that. And honestly, I probably wouldn't even need to bend the tarsus to the right that much. It would probably be better if it was just facing towards us. But you know what? Just for the sake of this little doodle here, we're just going to keep it the way it is. Okay, because what's cool is we can add in our own little parts. Why don't we just add another arm down there, just for fun? And that way, these little claws are coming at us to kind of balance off that stance. See how scribbly that is in there? I'm not worrying too much about perfect bug anatomy. No, it's just based on basic areas, and then I'm kind of manipulating it as I go. But it's not complete without drawing that femur behind all of these tibias. Okay, so we want to make sure that we draw the femurs in there. Remember how I said everything's going to be overlapping because of foreshortening? So we want to make sure that we bend those legs down properly. All right, there we go. Another really cool thing is just to darken off the bottom, so we know where the bottom of the insect is going to be. That tibia part, that should be a little darker, just because it will be in the front. There we go. Now you see this bug really starting to come into, or starting to be fleshed out. This is so much fun. And I hope you guys are having fun too. I'll show you what to shade and what to leave. Okay, so once I have all of this in here, I'm just going to start by putting in some cool looking shapes by the head or on the head. I see the thing about creature heads when it comes to insects, you don't have to follow bugs exactly, mainly because you can mix in some mammal shapes too. Okay, so of course you're going to have your antenna maybe, so you can put in some like really weird antenna coming out. This is more beetle-like than anything else. Okay, but hey, look, you can put in like a compound eye, like a big round black eye right there that's really scary, or it doesn't have to be scary necessarily, but the eye can go there. You can attach some muscles, even though you can't really see a lot of muscles in insects at all. In the back right here, this is called the pronotum. Okay, for a beetle. It's going to be a little different because the way this creature is built, so it's not going to be as prominent as a normal beetle. In between the abdomen part and the pronotum, that's called the scutellum. Right there, of course, the tibia right here in the front is going to be kind of blocking the view right here. Maybe I can change some of those shapes. Okay. The beetle shell, it's a cool word. It's the elytron. People pronounce that however they want. It's the elytron right here. You can put the wings down just a tad. And then in the back, if you ever look at beetles, you will see that there's something called the pygidium. It's that little fleshy part right down there in the back. Okay, you've got the pygidium. You can go underneath here to draw the belly if you want. Okay, now, if you're doing a creature and you're making it up, maybe all those parts that I mentioned don't really exist on it. That's okay. It's mainly drawing shapes that resemble that so that it brings some familiarity to it. And plus, you have to have your creatures, especially if it's insectoid, look like it can bend. I think a lot of people forget that you have to segment off your insectoid creatures, otherwise they won't be able to move. So you have to make it look like, oh, there's the shoulder joint, there's a hole in the shell so the shoulder can fit into it. And what I like doing is just putting in a little bit of shading like this. Now this right here, okay, the coxa, That part is a little different for my creature just because it's basically a large deltoid muscle. But I'm taking what that is in a regular bug leg and I'm morphing it into what it could be on my creature. Okay, so maybe that is kind of a shoulder joint coming out of there that looks more human than anything. And that's okay. All these little bits and all these little nooks and crannies and everything that I'm putting in here, those are just to fill the space, but also build some intrigue. Okay, so look at all those tiny little bits and everything. If I just take my pencil and very lightly shade over top of all those bits, but don't press hard, I add a layer of shading in there without tearing up any of the detail. So now it kind of looks very suggestive, like, oh, these do look like little tiny insect muscles and everything. And then, you know, put some mandibles right here, something that's ant-like. One thing that I do want to do is put shading right past the head shell, just so we can separate the mouth from the antenna here, and if there's some shadow going on the skin and everything, because that way it differentiates the head and then the mandibles. Okay, let's keep going. So we have our parts in here, or what would appear to be some parts. Another really cool thing you could do at this stage, remember how I told you to put in the belly? Look in between the leg segments where you can actually see where the belly would be. That is where you should put in some shading for now. Just a little bit. Okay, remember, I didn't put a lot of detail in on these femurs and tibias. Not yet, I just outlined them. Okay, now the tibia is going to get the darkest outline because that is closest to us and we need to see where it is. Okay, and then the femur in the back right here, because we can barely see the details of where the trochanter and the coxa are on those. See, this is why I have the diagram as I'm explaining this to you, so you know what this terminology is. I'm just going to go right back in here between this leg, and I'm going to put in some shading. See how the legs are kind of bouncing off at us now? That's what you want. The underbelly right here, I'm going to put in probably a deep shadow. I left the top of this because that is the tibia. There's the femur for that front little crazy leg. And then of course you got your trochanter and coxa right in there. Now it's going to be a pretty deep joint, so I'm just going to darken up just a little more where the shadow could be. Right inside there. Okay, because what you have is you have the pronotum, and then you have the scutella, and then you have your abdomen. So in between there, that's a huge articulation point. Okay, that's how this bug, this creature, is going to move its body around, because there has to be a break right here in the segment, right there. All right, so the bottom part is going to get some shadow. Notice how I did not shade on the arm. Now the arm is popping off at us. That's what you want. Okay, and then another thing that I could do, go down here on the tarsus. I can start to darken up just the bottom of it, or segment off the tarsus. Now I can hint at the legs on the other side, but very lightly. See how I'm just kind of shading them in there? In the back here, I'm not really worried too much about that. The prodigium, I just want to show a little bit. You can make up some of this anatomy, guys. Okay, it doesn't have to be exact. Remember, this is your creature, so just use real-world reference, and once you understand what that reference is, then you can manipulate the shapes to fit your design. Okay, actually I'm probably going to turn my sketchbook just slightly so I can shade in more of the ground plane. Notice how I'm not trying to stay perfect or one on top of the other. It's more of like a collective markings. There we go. Okay, let's just move on to the front here. The shape of this okay, of the tibia. It could be whatever you want. This is your creature. We're just kind of loosely basing this off of a mantis. You can go in here and add some really neat ridges. You can put some elbow spikes. Like, who cares? Just have fun with this, everybody. Take a step back and look what you've drawn so far in this lesson. Probably drew something pretty wicked, huh? So one thing I want to mention now that we're getting deeper into this sketch, and since we're using a mantis as our base, I forgot to mention that the anatomy is going to change a little bit. Okay, so when you get a regular bug leg up here, the small little bit is the coxa, and then the trochanter's next to it. Well, actually, for a mantis, this entire leg segment or arm segment is the coxa. So the shoulder joint would actually be separate. So we're just making up that shoulder joint. Okay. Then what happens is you got your trochanter right inside here. I'm sorry, I should have made this a little bit clearer, but you know, since we're inventing creatures, we're just loosely basing it off anatomy, but might as well just give you the rundown on what's actually going on with the mantis. And then this entire bit right here is the femur, okay, and then you have your tibia up here. Now for a mantis, you know, a tibia, they have this cool little hook at the end, and then you have your tarsus and they pop out. But since it's a little different for the creature that we're inventing, it's going to look a little alien, I guess you can say. But notice how I'm just inventing these hook shapes as I'm going. That's cool. Let's just keep doing that. I'll put in some values over here. You can put in some really neat looking spikes. Maybe there's like a really cool spike coming off of the top. And you got your tibia. Put a little separation there. I'm just going to shade in the background very lightly, very, very lightly, the other leg. This isn't perfect direct side view. It's just skewed a little bit. So let's just indicate where that other leg could be existing on the other side. And now we have some depth in our drawing. There we go. Bugs are so much fun to do. This is why when I was a little kid, I just obsessed about bugs, and I never became an entomologist. I just, you know, drawing and everything, I just used bugs as a really fun influence on creatures. I think bugs, more than mammals or reptiles or anything, bugs offer such otherworldly possibilities and shapes because there's so many weird looking insects out there that you're never going to get bored when you're drawing these things. You don't even have to be a creature designer. Just look at the insects that exist and just draw those, and you're never going to be bored. Okay, so let's just put in, gotta do a little better of a job with that shadow. Just directly under the creature is going to be the darkest, especially if lit from above. And we cannot have a complete sketch without drawing Bill right here. There's Bill. There's a little backpack. Okay. Bill's waving hi. We're probably giving our friend there a candy bar. That's how big a human is compared to our beast, our insectoid beast. And then right underneath where the head would be, flowing into the flesh, we'll just put some shadows just so we can separate those. There we go. There is our insectoid bug creature. And I hope that you enjoyed the lesson today. If you did, check the links in the description below. I am now running a Patreon, which I'm so excited about. I go more in depth with my client work and tutorials, both live stream and also recorded. I stick to a lot of the digital painting too in my Patreon, so it's a lot of fun. You can even join for free if you want. Just stop by, snoop around. I got a little something for everyone. I also run a mentorship if you're interested in becoming a creature designer for film and games. I've been doing this for many years now, and I can give you the rundown on how to become a better creature designer. Just email me at bobbyrebholz@gmail.com. That information is in the description below. And last but not least, I run a creature design workshop or creature design for film and games class. And early signups are going on now for fall term. So you guys can pick and choose on what you want. And of course, if you just want to snoop around my YouTube channel, that's fine. All right, thanks everybody, and I hope that you came up with an awesome beast today in our insect/monster lesson. Until next time, peace out. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we are looking at a thumbnail sketch. So if you know me and you know my channel by now, I focus on thumbnail sketching so that it sets the foundation for your concepting, whether it's for video games, film, your own personal projects, or just to be a better artist in general. And I want to show you, again, how to form these little critters, because I specialize in creature design, how to form these critters without overthinking anatomy and obsessing about details and worrying too much about being perfect. Yes, it's easier said than done, but I'm going to show you some really easy techniques so that you're not overthinking every single little mark. Now, first things first, go grab your favorite drawing tool and then open your sketchbooks up and start doodling with me. Now, these particular thumbnails today, they're going to be slightly more detailed than normal. I noticed that depending on the lighting that I have in my videos, sometimes the details don't show up. So I have a much brighter light shining on it right now, and hopefully you'll be able to pick these up. I am using a Bic ballpoint pen, and I'm sketching on moleskin paper. It does not matter what you're sketching on as long as the paper is not too toothy. If it's too rough in texture and you want to end up shading some of these, the shading is going to look really bad because the graphite doesn't touch inside all of the grooves of the paper. That's why the shading never tends to be smooth for you. Okay, so you can see here that I plopped some small scribbled shapes down and then formed an arachnid creature. Because guess what, everybody? That's what we're going to be focusing on. If you've never drawn an arachnid creature, that's okay. You can go along with me and you can find out how I build these from scratch. So I'm going to number this. It's a good habit to get into, numbering your sketches. Oh, by the way, why do we number them? One, order. You got to learn how to order your sketches in a way that they are easily identifiable later. I'm always thinking about somebody else needing to pinpoint what they like so they can, contribute to a game studio, a client, a movie visual effects studio, or sometime that you need to go back and say, hey, I really like number 17. I'm going to go with it. Instead of saying, I really like the third one down, sixth one over next to that one weird one. It's like, no. Don't put yourself through that. But anyway, okay, you can see here that there are very light lines that I am overlapping. Do I have a bug or creature in mind as I'm drawing these lines? The answer is no. Do you have to become a master at anatomy in order to make the correct lines? No. Right there, you're overthinking it. All I'm doing is I'm putting down shapes. Some of them are rounded. Some of them kind of look like flower petals. I don't really know what this is going to end up like, and I'm kind of at the mercy of seeing where my hand takes me. The other thing is, when you are sketching these thumbnails, you have total permission to fail. It's okay. You do not have to be perfect towards these. Now, the other thing I want to point out, how do you know where to get dark and how do you know where to stay light in your sketch? Well, there are a couple really cool little tricks. One, think about crevices in the sketch that you see that light may not be getting into. Now, this weird looking bone that came out of this opening, that wasn't there before. But when I scribbled the shapes on there when it was light, it opened up the doorway for that hole to even exist. I just looked at it and go, oh, there's the outline of a hole. I'm going to put it in there. All right, so now I'm just going to put some weird shapes on the end of that, I guess you can call it apparatus, and let's see what happens. There we go. Okay, next thing I'm going to do, ooh, that looks like a really giant, like a fly almost, or yeah, it kind of does look like a fly head. I didn't even mean to do that, but it's happening, folks. I'm going to put another rounded shape under here. That particular decision that I just made to put the rounded shape under there, it's because I wanted to. That's all. I'm not referencing any animals from nature, nothing. I'm just putting rounded shapes right here, just to see what's going to happen. And I'm putting little dark marks in there because I want to give the illusion that there is cast shadow without me obsessing about shading. Okay, so if you're an inker, like a comic inker or whatever, and you enjoy doing really cool looking marker sketches and the shadows are very harsh, inking is so much fun, and you can really get into these crevices to make cast shadows look really cool. Like inside this opening right there, I can put almost black. Just push really hard on the pen, and there we go. We have something in there. Okay. Boy, this thing's kind of wild already because it reminds me of a small rodent or a small pet that you might have in your house if you wanted alien arachnid creatures in your house. Okay, there we go. I still don't know what that apparatus is going to be, so maybe... Oh man. This is looking kind of cool. Now, the huge appendages hanging off of the front of that face, you do not have to know exact insect anatomy in order to make every single part perfect. All right? Just think about articulation of an insect joint and a body. Okay, the bodies have to be segmented. Matter of fact, I just made a video about that last week, about how you need to think about the segmenting of a body, whether it's a thorax, whether it's the abdomen, even the legs. I mean, you got the tibia, the coxa, the different parts of an insect leg, whether it's beetle, whether it's larva, it doesn't matter. They all have to articulate. Okay, this is actually kind of gross. But who doesn't want to draw gross insects, right? There we go. Now, what are these lines that are coming across here? I'm just having fun. I'm just having fun thinking about different segments. It kind of almost looks like an eyeball, like an eyelid slightly closing because the insect is tired or angry. And the cool thing about insects, and well, yes, insects are cool, but thumbnails like this is that the interpretation is left open for anybody looking at it. That right there could be finished. Okay, and then I would just move on to the next one. Okay, so there's number 2. So let's move on to the next one. This is how you build these pages for thumbnails. If you're drawing along right now and you're getting frustrated already, maybe you're going, why is it that I just can't see anything? Why is it that I'm constantly overthinking this and I don't see the shapes that he's seeing or another creature designer seeing? Well, one, you're getting inside your own head. Okay, every mark that I put down, I'm letting my hand move without thinking too hard about where that line is going. Just put the line down. That's all it is. The thing that matters in this process is motion. It's not getting form down to the point where it has to be identifiable. That's the thing. So think about all the insects or the creatures in your head that you could, see on a daily basis. We see beetles, we see cockroaches, we see insects flying around, praying mantis, butterfly, all of that stuff. And the cool thing is, it's in your brain. All of this is in your brain. If you were to think of a horse right now, you could think of a horse in your head, although you can't draw exactly what the body parts are, but you know the shape of a horse. Same thing happens with insects. So the cool thing is that maybe you don't know the perfect anatomy for a bug, like a beetle or a mantis or something, but you can kind of put it on there. That's great. It's all about forward momentum, everybody. See all these scribble shapes right here? This is one ugly bug. I don't even know what it is, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it. Okay, so let's say you have some scribbles and some lines going in different directions, and you feel like you're not creative enough to know which ones are going to be body parts or not. All right, that you're not alone. I'm going to show you some easy methods. And also, to piggyback on that, let's say that you're not even an artist. You just happen to stumble across this video and you're going to give it a try. Well, here we go. So whenever you start to overlap these lines, you look at the ones where they're more prominent, like the lines that are slightly darker. This is a fun way and an easy way to just make shapes pop out without you intentionally making those shapes pop out. Because I can just go into this area right up here, this blank area, and I can just start pushing harder in some areas and releasing pressure. Okay, that was totally at random. But there are little lines in there where they're darker. Fine. Now let's have some fun with it, and let's start putting some shading just under those darker lines. And then, lo and behold, we have some cool exoskeleton shapes that you normally wouldn't think of. Normally, as in all of you listening right now, and maybe you're trying not to draw the same shapes that you always do in your sketch pad. Okay, you don't have to become, like a entomologist. You don't have to be a paleontologist to know all of this stuff. Just think about all the lines that you're placing, okay? And then let's see which ones are darker. Now it looks like what was going to be a beetle turned out to be almost like a larva shape, like a caterpillar mixed with a hellgrammite or some kind of, even a shrimp, like a shrimp tail. There's weird stuff. You see how I'm just floating across this, these scribbles, and I'm not really thinking about body parts. I do have some bulbous shapes that are sectioned off, but that's it. Because it's an insect. It has to articulate at some point. Okay, what do we do with all of that? Well, we're not really done with it yet. You see how over here I put some darker lines, darker shading underneath those big pincers, and I put some darker lines under here where we can see the underbelly of this bug. We're going to do the same thing over here, but we're going to make it more on just the belly part because the legs are super skinny. So let's just put some little sections that we can put some black in. Okay, and then we're going to leave it. So right there, it gives the illusion that there's going to be some shadow. Now, let's say that you feel absolutely terrible at drawing insect legs. They're not easy, right? You got beetles, you got flies, you got wasps, all kinds of different things that you can think of. Start scribbling some shapes down and making each line go different directions. Okay? Now, it's going to look a little wonky, it's going to look a little mismatched and broken. That's fine. Wherever they're darker, we can start putting in some fun lighter shapes in with it. And this is without knowing exactly what those joints are going to look like. Because remember, at the thumbnail stage, there is no failing, because this is the most raw you can get in any design phase. This is pre-visualization, or pre-viz for short. That means that if you were talking to a client right now and nobody has done any work or artwork for the project at all, you are literally the first person. It's pre-viz. So they're going to take and they're going to see what they like that you've done, maybe what they don't like, and then they're going to ask other artists to bounce ideas off of it, and it's going to go down the pipeline. Okay, so right here I'm just kind of having fun and putting some really, actually kind of sinister looking quills almost on the back of this thing. It's pretty gross. Okay, and hey, I might have some more fun here and put some sharp shapes. It's kind of like a praying mantis with the limbs in the front. Now, once you start overlapping a ton of these lines, you're going to kind of get lost in the sauce right there. So you need to start darkening up where those limbs are going to be. And I've already shown you how to do that. You just pick the darker lines that show up, and then you can slowly but surely start to build up those legs. So right here I'm just shading with a pen, keeping my pen tilted to the side, not worrying too much about every single little segment and detail. And guess what, folks? That's number 3 already. There we go. Okay, well, let's move on. Let's go over here to the end, and we're going to keep going. This is so much fun, right? If you're frustrated and you feel like throwing your sketchbook across the table and you want to quit drawing forever, please do not do that. You're not going to solve your problem. Instead, if you feel like you're not creative, you suck at drawing, and you're just not meant to do it in life, well, I hate to break it to you, but whether you think you can or you can't, you are right. Something that Henry Ford said a long, long time ago, and whether or not you believe in that, that's up to you. But if you just scribble and you just put in the mileage, then slowly but surely you're going to start to build up your skills over time. This is not an overnight thing. You know, we live in a microwave generation where we want to see results instantly, and this is something that I have said over and over again. And I'm going to keep saying it. Okay, so it kind of looks like an ant. Let's see what happens here. Or a cicada. I'm going to put the eyes on the side right here. And these are, I mean, yeah, I guess they could be friendly insects, but I don't know. Philip right there does not look happy. Just looks like an angry house insect hybrid creature, and I don't know what to say about that other than that. We're going to do a cool looking mouth. So we're going to do something that's almost like a Dobson fly. If you guys know what Dobson flies are, so they start off as Helgramites, and then they have these very, very sinister looking twisting pincers in the front. They're just not friendly looking insects at all. But check out the Dobson fly, just Google search that, it's pretty cool. We're going to put that there, and then just to add a little bit of beauty to it, I'm going to darken up the pincers and make them look extra deadly. There we go. I get asked often, why don't I draw cute things? Why do I keep drawing evil things? And, well, evil's just a word. We invented it. I like drawing fun things. And if it looks mean, if it looks evil, then that's fun for me. Okay, so this bug is in a front 3/4 stance. So it's going to be coming at us, and we can see some of the side, some of the top, some of the front. Looks like the abdomen's pretty big, so I don't even think we're going to get to the full body right here. Maybe we shouldn't, right? Maybe it's a slug. I don't even know what's happening now. Okay, so it looks like a bunch of sections of fat are all over this bug / slug. Okay, maybe it burrows. Or maybe there's an extra set of pincers on the bottom in case the top two... Oh man, look at that. What would you guys name this one? I haven't asked that in the past couple videos, but I love asking viewers, hey, what would you name these creatures that I'm inventing? Some of you come up with some really awesome things, and from what I've seen, I think the funnest ones are the ones where they're everyday names. Like if I named this one Charles, okay, or just make up a name. Okay, there we go. Are you guys having fun yet? I hope you are. If you're frustrated, guess what? That's a good thing, because that means your brain is taking in new bits of information and it hasn't learned the task yet, which means you actually have room to grow. Even though it's terrible to go through right now, you may feel lost, you may feel frustrated, you may feel like you just don't have a creative bone in your body. If you feel that way, take a deep breath, drink some water, go stand up, go outside, enjoy the air, come back with a fresh take on this. A lot of times I like to put movies on where it matches the genre of the creature I'm designing. And it's just so much fun that way. If it's sci-fi, you put on a sci-fi movie. If it's cosmic horror, well, put on something like The Void, Event Horizon, something. Speaking of Event Horizon, it's one of my top 10 movies. I love that movie. I was lucky enough to see it in the theater before they ended a run, because it didn't make a lot of money, but it has slowly become a cult classic over the past 30 years. Hard to believe it's been 30 years since, well, it will be in 2027. Okay, so this was, I mean, kind of overlapping this creature right here, but I don't care. I'm just going to leave it. And maybe, hey, maybe, you know, I don't have to be done with this one yet. Maybe the tail in the back is kind of whipping around this way. It's just one giant evil-looking Dobson fly worm. And there's like a bunch of different feelers and crazy, creepy, crawly appendages on the sides. That'd be kind of fun. Well, now that I'm looking at it, I don't think the head does it justice, but that's for me to figure out later in the design phase if I decide to go with this design further. I probably won't, but it'll be here, just in case. Guess what? We're going to move on. This is number 4. Okay, we got our first row. We're going to move it, and then we're going to start on number 5. Okay, put number 5 down first. Now, let's go over again how we start this process. Loosen your grip, okay? Take your pencil or your pen. Don't grip your pencil so hard that you're forced to focus on tiny little bits of information. You don't want to do that. Instead, let's think about the large silhouette. All right, so start to put down some very light lines. This is like the top of a helmet. That's all I'm doing. Just the top of a helmet. I want everybody to do this right now. Draw the top of a helmet. All right. Congratulations. You have just sketched the top of a beetle or some kind of creature. Next, I want you to start clustering together some lines over here on the right. Now, these will not mean anything at first until I'm going to tell you what they mean here in a second. So it's going to look like a hairball. It's going to look like somebody bit into a piece of chocolate and there's like chunks of it everywhere. Whatever. It's like you're drawing food. Leave it. Okay? Third step, I want you to draw some lines that could be wavy underneath everything that you just drew. Wavy lines. Could be 1, 2. Just like 2 waves. Okay? Next step. I want you to draw a large oval, very light, on the side. Notice how I didn't say circle, I said oval, because this is going to be a circle in perspective. Okay, I'm teaching you how to sketch a creature in front 3/4 view in your thumbnailing. Okay, the next one, you're going to do an oval next to it, but it's going to be slightly skinnier and smaller, and you're going to do it again next to that one. See how I'm differentiating the height? Like here, the big oval is up front. This one's down a little bit. This one's back up. And then maybe the one I can put bigger again, but towards the back and skinnier. Now this one is open more because it's coming towards us in perspective. This one is going to be flattened and opening up over to our left. Okay, so we started with the helmet. The next stage, we clustered together some crazy looking lines, very light, in the front. Third thing we did is we gave the bottom a shape. Very simple wavy shape. And then the next steps after that, we put 4 holes on the side. Congratulations, you're about 75% there from designing an insect creature. Now, let's look inside this area. This is huge.
Let's think about the bug that you actually want to design. Do you want it to be aggressive? Do you want it to be cute and cuddly? Do you want it to be kind of almost blind? You can't really even tell that it has a head. Fine. If that's the case, then look at the shapes inside this cluster and ask yourself, which ones can I pull forward to aid my design? Now, I'm going to make a bug that can be considered like an NPC in a video game. So those of you who aren't familiar with NPC, it's non-playable character. Those are kind of the filler characters and creatures that are in the background and in the environments of a game where you can interact with them sometimes, or they're just kind of there to fill space. All right, so I see a rounded shape right in here. I'm going to round that off and I'm going to stop. All right, so now that we have at least the shape for that eyeball in here, we can start to pinpoint which areas of this face, because to me the right side is going to be the face. This is why we built this structure the way we have it. So the eyeball is going to be here. If I can see just a little bit of an outline for maybe a pincer, I'll do it. If you are not familiar with the anatomy of a pincer, then go on Google and type in bug pincers. And whichever ones that look intriguing to you, you can try to mimic that, study those, do independent studies of them. So small little doodles of different bug heads and eyes and pincers, and whichever one you feel could fit your bug's design, your creature's design, you can follow that one. But what we're doing here is we're looking at the lines that are actually showing up, and we're going to outline these. And there we have it. So this is more of an NPC, like I was saying, and it's not going to be a deadly creature, more like just a little walking tank, I guess you can call it. Next, it needs a cranium. It needs some kind of head. So we're just going to give it a head. We're just going to round this off, give it a head. And if you're not confident about your anatomy so far when it comes to making a bug head, that's okay. All right, they're complicated shapes. Bugs are complicated. Go on Google, go on Pinterest, Tumblr, Bing, whatever you want to use, even your own backyard if you want to go out there and look at bugs. Try to draw the different shapes that you see for the head, and sometimes you can combine stuff, and other times you're just going to make things up. And that's the part that we have to embrace as a creature designer. So I'm pretty confident about that eyeball, and I'm actually thinking about putting in another one right here above it. So it's almost taking the form of a jumping spider, like in the face, but I don't necessarily want to do that quite yet. I'm not jumping to conclusions yet. All right, so now I'm just putting in where the creature's mouth would be, small little dark lines without perfectly knowing where teeth would be or any kind of antenna. I'm just indicating where it could be. And I'm just going to start adding in some interesting shapes to the pincer in the front, and then on the side right here to the other pincer. There we go, right like that. So now we can start to see this bug taking shape. This is why I love using ballpoint pens so much, because all of the lighter gestural lines that are happening around it, you can immediately press darker with ink and it will show up, so it won't bleed in with it. We just got to indicate where the eyeball is on the other side of the head here to add some like 3D realism. Now for the eyeball, I'm going to play with this just a little bit more. I'm going to slowly build up some values until I get to a speck highlight in the middle of the eyeball. So I'm going to shade around the center and I'm going to close in on it. And once I close in on it, I'm going to leave that part white. So it's going to be the white of the paper. And if I want it to be a little darker around it, I'm going to do that. But I can't go too far in the middle, or else it's going to lose that shine, and then I'll have to go to like gouache markers or something to add that highlight in there. I'm at the mercy of drawing on paper. Okay, so there is no gimmicky tricks you can do. You can't grab an eraser and erase the center of that, not with the ink. Okay, so once I have that, I'm going to go back to these armholes, and I'm just going to put a slight indication of a line. Like I'm going to cut these in half, but it's going to be in between the ovals. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll up the shape. So roll up the shape as in this oval that I put here, and then the lines that are going to cut through them or on the side of them, I'm going to go to the end of those lines and kind of roll them up into it. Make them look like the shell is opening up. Because guess what, everybody? The arms are going to go in there. Okay, so for example, I can put the coxa right there, and then you start with the bug arms. Okay, like the big suckers. You can have fun with this too. Maybe something big. I always think of Pokemon characters or something that you can do where they kind of exaggerate the different body parts, making them bulbous. Okay, there we go. You see how I'm not freaking out over anything. I'm just placing in lines, not obsessing about the shapes being perfect. I don't want to do that. Instead, I'm just giving a slight indication of what the bug could look like. Right there. All right, so look down at your own drawings and ask yourself, what kind of shell could my creature have? You know, is it a spiky shell? With this one, I kind of do imagine some weird organic spiky shapes on that shell going in the back. And then maybe, see that little oval in the back here? I kind of forgot that leg, so maybe that leg will just be ghosted in the back. And when I say ghosted, I mean just pressing very light. I'm drawing over the other legs because it doesn't matter. And each new leg that I bring forth towards the front gets a little darker on the edges. So that way, dark, lighter, lighter than that, very light in the background. And I just did that depth by drawing over top of each other and then getting a little bit darker with each leg that's closest to us. Okay, that's depth. All right, there we go. So I'm going to put in some shadow in that little crack, just that little separation of top and bottom shell. It's a very simple shell. Okay, putting in some cool little bumps on that. It kind of looks like a lobster leg almost, just in the front here. This bug could very well be aquatic. I'm not sure. But we'll see. We're having a lot of fun here. I'm having a blast. I love drawing this kind of stuff. Just love drawing creatures, and I hope that you guys are enjoying this process too. Even those of you that are complete and utter noobs and beginners at this, you are now better than you were when you first started. So, you know, and I want to welcome all of you to my channel too. All of you are welcome. And please come back to it from time to time. Bookmark this video, come back to it, show it to your class if you're a teacher, if you're an aspiring concept artist and you just can't seem to, you know, learn the ropes when it comes to concept art. You can't go wrong with thumbnailing. It's a lost art too. Either people are too lazy to do it, they don't even know to do it, or they just don't include it in their portfolios because they don't think it's important. And it is vital. All right, so I'm just going to overlap some of these lines here, and I'm kind of wisping the lines across because, you know, shading with a pen is a lot different. And one thing I want to mention, if you want to have me dive way deeper into my creative process with creature design, anatomy, studying, reference gathering, you can join my Patreon. So check the link in the description below for that. I have 3 tiers. Tier 3 as in, you know, the most important one, and that's the live streaming that I'll do monthly, where I just go in depth about my creature design process. So if you want to learn tips and tricks, if you want assignments, say you don't feel like you have direction, I give assignments. Okay, and then we also have a creature design workshop Discord, and you can post them on there. So it's a lot of fun. It's a huge community too. A lot of like-minded individuals, so I think you're going to benefit. All right, so now what I'm doing, you see how quickly I built that bug up? That's what I want all of you to do right now. Take a step back and ask yourself, are you happy with the direction that your creature's in? If you're not happy, you're allowed to not be happy about that. But just know that this is not the final stage. Okay, this is the thumbnail stage. This is the dirty, gritty, messy stage where nothing is as it seems. This stuff will change. Okay, just putting in some details with the pen. Just indicating where some legs could be on the other side of the body to give it some depth. And if I want to shade in some of the body parts without going too much into detail, I'd like to put in some hatching in one direction. Do that with the other legs poking out. I want to make sure that the separation of the shell and the neck and the head and everything, there's plenty of shadow in there so that it does have depth, but it creates a sense of realism too. Okay, I can mess with this head for ages. All right, so really, folks, if you just want to add in a little bit of darker lines right here to give an outline of the body parts, go right ahead. You can call this one done. You don't have to do any more than that. We've done 5 thumbnails together. See, isn't this a lot of fun? We have 5 thumbnails together, and these go very quickly. Okay, so you can keep going with this, and who knows what you can come up with on this one. All right, you can spend hours drawing. I recommend you guys at least knock out 1 hour a day to drawing. If you want to be a creature designer, it's going to take minimum of that. You should be studying anatomy every single day. Your favorite animals, your least favorite animals. We have to understand all aspects of nature if we want to break the rules in creature design. All right, so I want to thank all of you for joining me today in this little lesson, this little classroom lesson. Comment below if you're an aspiring creature designer, if you're an aspiring concept artist. I'd love to hear your journey so far and what it's been like. Are you frustrated? Have you gotten your first job? You got your first client? Did you make your first paycheck? Like, I know how important that is too. You feel validated once you're paid for your work, right? So look at that. I just decided to draw like a bird, like a really weird, kind of an evil duck. So just comment below. Let me know what you guys are working on, what you're struggling with. And again, check the links in the description for my Patreon. I'd love to have you there, as well as our Discord. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Get sketching in your sketchbooks. No excuses. Number all of them. And one thing I can guarantee, sketch number 1 will look way different than the last one that you did. So make sure that you continue that journey. Thanks again for tuning in and watching me. Till next time, later. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm really glad that you're here because today we are going to be tackling a couple things that trouble beginner artists, but also some very fun techniques that I can show you if you want to sketch creatures quickly in your portfolio and have the perspective be accurate and knowing where to put detail. So it's a lot of stuff, but if you want to draw along with me, there's going to be no editing. This is as raw as it gets. It's just my camera pointed on my sketchbook, and if you want to doodle along with me, put some music on, do what you can, then go right ahead. I'm using a 4B pencil from Faber-Castell, and I'm also drawing on moleskin paper. So you don't even have to draw on the same paper as I do. Just grab something that you feel comfortable with. Now, notice what I'm doing here. I'm drawing a very gestural form of a dog-like creature. Okay, now I'm going to be mixing some things up with this drawing or this creature. We have dog in there. We have maybe a little bit of dragon and a hint of dinosaur. So I'm morphing a lot of the anatomy here without it being pinpointed to a specific species. Because it's fun, right? Who doesn't want to morph a bunch of animals together? Also, I'm kind of inventing things as I go, and there was a worry
at some point that the flat hammerhead looking forehead that I have for this dog creature wasn't going to work. And I was a little worried because you know how I am. I don't use an eraser. It's very sparing. So I had to keep things light. That's why I kind of avoided the face at first, and then I felt better about it. Now, those of you that don't know me, I tend to do a couple different recording techniques whenever I draw. I either teach in real time as I'm physically laying down the marks, or I will do something, narrated. And I think when I was drawing this creature, I wanted to just get the drawing out first, and then I can talk to you guys about it at a later time, just so I can collect my thoughts. I will admit, drawing and talking at the same time, it can get kind of difficult. Doesn't matter how many years you've been doing it. I didn't want to miss any details or anything. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about here is the motion in which this creature is moving. That's one of the biggest things that we have to think about as a creature designer whenever we're drawing these things, and we want to make it look like it's moving on our page. I've talked about this in several other videos, mainly how to avoid stiffness with your characters and creatures, but mainly creatures because they tend to have multiple limbs. So, a lot of the people that I mentor, they come to me with the same problem or a similar problem, and that is, how do I get the creature to look like it is not stiff and that it is actually moving within an environment on a 2D plane, 2D being the paper. And I know this is going to sound old hat and kind of cliche, but you got to study reference. So if you have pets at home, it's good to watch how your pets move, especially if it is a dog, even cats. Just look at quadrupeds. Look at how the joints and body movements move, and how the feet are planted, how the paws are planted on the ground, and how they shift direction, what leg stays in one position while the other ones have to move, what the tail is doing. All these different things we have to think about. If you want a very easy assignment right off the bat, just go on Google and type in dogs walking, and then compile an image board and draw those exact photographs. Okay, there's so much to learn when you're drawing from observation. If you can go out in nature, if you got a dog park near you. I keep mentioning dogs just because it's a very common pet. It's a very common animal. We see these almost on a daily basis. Somebody is walking a dog. Study that body. Study how it's moving. How it dips its head, how they turn when they smell something or when they're chasing something, even playing or sleeping. Okay, for this one, I'm focusing on the face. I really was worried that I was going to screw this up just because of the lines that I had in the face weren't really resonating with me, especially around the eye socket, but I figured it out, and I just kind of went with it, and it turned out okay, I think. But here I'm figuring out the details of the mouth. I'm really, really picky about mouth openings, and I'm also picky about if there are teeth showing up, how can I show those teeth growing from the skull into sight, which means if there's an overbite. So if you look at the tusk up there by the nose, what does the upper lip look like that's growing around that tusk? Is there enough room for a tooth root to grow up into the skull? Prime example, just look at the Smilodon or the saber-toothed tiger. Sometimes, the ancient tooth roots of those prehistoric mammals, they're curved to fit the skull. So you just want to make sure that you give enough room for that. Okay, notice what I did down here at the feet. I want everybody to pay attention to this. Look at the creature's front right paw. The smallest nail on our left is pointing to our left, while the biggest two are pointing downward almost at a 45-degree angle in the opposite direction. What that does is it shows that as the creature is pressing down on the ground, toe pads muscle and fat are spreading apart. Not all the nails are going to be flowing in the same direction. This is one of the biggest things to pay attention to when you're doing creature art, because if you want to avoid stiffness, you have to make sure that the toes are not always pointing exactly in the same direction. I think a thing that plagues the human brain when it comes to drawing is the obsession with symmetry. You have to embrace asymmetry if you really want this to work. If you embrace asymmetry, you could potentially unlock a whole new level to your artwork. So, take for example, whatever you're drawing right now. If you're drawing a creature that has multiple legs, or if you're even drawing a human, are the feet pointing in the same direction? All of them. This plagues a lot of beginner character designers and beginner creature designers. Heck, it did me too when I first started out. We are so obsessed with symmetry and making things orderly that we don't really stop and think about all of the chaos that happens naturally within nature. You know, when we look at anything organic, think about plants, think about vines, tree roots, anything along those lines. Yeah, there's a lot of order to it. But at the same time, there's a lot of chaos, a lot of parts going in different directions. It's one of the main reasons why we have to pay attention to the weight distribution whenever we draw toes. Okay. Now I'm drawing the back right foot right now, so I have to think about, what is going to happen to those claws as the creature's weight is pressed against them? Sometimes the claws will point out. An example I always give too is, if you're barefoot, look at your pinky toe. Our pinky toes get beat up so much. Most of the time it's because the weight on the outside of our feet push those tarsal bones, the tendons and the muscles and everything to the outside of our foot, especially for changing direction. And our pinky toe usually has to bend. It's at the mercy of our foot. Our big toe stays there. You know, that's like our stabilizer. Our poor little pinky toe, man, it gets bent under, it gets whatever. Okay, it's abused. But anyway, look at the toes that I'm drawing for the creature right now. That toe right there, pointing inward. The next two, they're going in a different direction. It's subtle, but you can see it. Now, the other thing that I have to think about is, how am I going to bend these legs so they're not seeming too stiff? Now, I'm giving a very slight walking motion to this creature as a whole. Okay. Now, it's not necessarily having to shift all four limbs as if it's trotting or if it's walking quickly. It's more exploring. It's sniffing out its environment. Maybe it wants to hunt. Or maybe it is hunting. Okay, this is why its front left paw is kind of bent inward towards the back legs, mainly because it's feeling out its environment. It looks like it's living and breathing on the page. So ask yourselves, is the creature you're drawing right now living, or is it just too stiff? Is the head too short? You know, for example, look at the neck that I gave my creature. All right. A lot of times people don't give their creatures necks, and it looks like the wrong toy head was just placed on top of a figure, and you don't know if those are supposed to meet. Okay, so you have to make sure that each body part gets its own respect. You have to respect each joint. You have to respect each part of the body needing to move both independently and simultaneously, so that it looks like it's living and breathing and moving in the environment that you placed it in. Okay, so now what I'm doing is just adding a little bit more shading, a little bit more detail to the front paw, because that one, it's getting the most attention. It's closest to us. Like I said, I didn't want to edit this at all, so you guys can see this in raw form. Whenever I shade, I hold the pencil towards the butt of the pencil, like my hand towards the butt of the pencil is, as far back as I can. mainly because the closer I get, I want to get into details. So when I'm putting details now on the head crest, I move the fingers way up to the top, helps me control the pencil. And that's something that you guys should be looking into also. Okay. Now, the other thing that I want to mention is I'm not going to be explaining the process for the entire video. So we're approaching the point where we'll do some, I'll just put some music on so you can relax and maybe draw along with me. The one thing I want to mention before we get into that is that I have finally opened a Patreon, and I'm super excited about this. It's something that I have been wanting to do for several years now. So the Patreon is an extension of my YouTube channel, but I dive into client work and reference gathering, and I give more in-depth tutorials on digital painting as well as sketching creatures and studying anatomy and stuff. So check the links in the description below for that. Comment below also if you're enjoying this. I try to experiment with the methods of my recording too. So sometimes I'll do narration, other times I'll play a little music. So, we'll see how it goes. But really study what I'm doing. Everybody now, study what I'm doing. Do not use an eraser. Instead, embrace the scribble. Okay, that's my motto. Embrace the scribble. And have fun with this. All right? Without further ado, let's listen to a little bit of music and draw some creatures.